All right, guys. So we're doing a collab with the Fire Grind. Let's sort of get started on sort of our focused content on our channels because I know, like I said, for me, I'm more in the blockchain cryptocurrency space. I know you've been sort of promoting this app similar to Robinhood.
Yeah, so the app that I'm mainly on right now is WealthSimple Trade. And I
Okay.
remember a couple years back when we still didn't have WealthSimple Trade, I was looking over the borders and seeing Robinhood come up, M1 Finance, Webull. And I was like, man, I wish Canada had some sort of zero commission trading fee platform.
Yeah,
Because right now, back then I was using TD Direct Investing and I was paying like $10 per trade. So
that's
once
insane.
Yeah, if you're gonna trade $100 worth of stocks, you're paying $10 right up front just to trade that. So you need to make a 10% gain to even out. And if you're selling, you lose another $10 because you got to pay that $10 commission fee to sell. So all in all, you really have to make 20% off your $100 investment.
Yeah.
You can break even. So once Simple Trade came along, I hopped on it right away. I signed up as soon as they announced their pre-launch. So I became one of the beta testers, and they launched the platform officially 1 month later. Yeah, but it's been pretty good so far. Definitely not as advanced as TD Direct Investing or even Robinhood for that matter. We don't have options trading. We don't have the option to open a US account. So basically, we got to trade all in Canadian dollars. We got to pay commission fees basically to exchange from Canadian to US currency. So that's the downside with it right now. So I mainly trade Canadian stocks on Simple Trade right now. And the goal of my channel really was to teach about personal finance because A, I love saving money, and B, I love investing. But it kind of took the route of just purely investing right now on my channel. But sooner or later, I might branch out into a bit more personal finance stuff, talking about credit cards, talking about ways that I save money, like on phone bills, or things I don't spend my money on, like eating out.
I
I think,
like your
yeah,
So I like your video series on I remember you did a video on how you can achieve fire making minimum wage.
yeah, it's kind of crazy because people who are minimum wage, they're like, oh, I'll never achieve $1 million. But really, it's very possible to do if you have the right saving mentality. You just have to sacrifice a lot of things in life, I guess, like those dream vacations or that shiny new nice car. And how about for you? What kind of content? You just want to give a summary of what kind of content you're creating on YouTube, a bit more on why you chose blockchain and
Okay.
review on
Yeah,
that.
so sort of I first started my YouTube channel and I got into travel vlogging at
Hmm.
first, right? And because actually back in 2017, travel vlogging was the thing. Like if you were doing YouTube, most likely like you're probably a travel vlogger. So I got into that. Like we would go into different trips with family and then I would just travel vlog. But then I realized that like if you're not full time, like travel vlogging is the one niche where if you're not full time, it's going to be hard to scale that unless you talk
Yeah.
about topics of traveling. So, but the actual travel vlogging itself, it's very hard to scale. So I
Hmm.
got burnt out and I stopped doing that. And sort of I re-entered YouTube back in mid 2020, like basically during the COVID crash.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were in quarantine, so I had nothing else to do but do something with my time. So I chose to do YouTube, and I mean, I was already involved in cryptocurrency in general back in 2017. So in 2017, I invested some money. I made a lot, but then I lost it all. But it's all unrealized, you know.
Yeah.
I made a bunch of unrealized gains, and I made a lot of unrealized losses.
Hmm.
So now the portfolio is sort of like stable, with decent returns. So I've been involved with blockchain and cryptocurrency since 2017 now. I remember
Hmm.
back in 2017, I got so burnt out with the crash of my portfolio that I had to like study it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this thing has to have something. I mean, like I believed in the technology so much, but I didn't understand it so well.
Yeah.
So from 2017 to 2020, because it would take me about an hour back and forth from work to commute. So I
Hmm.
would just watch like podcasts, like on the way back to work, and then on the way back, I would watch a Bitcoin podcast, a blockchain podcast. So I
Yeah.
really tried to immerse myself in this blockchain space. So here we are now in 2020. Um, I believe that the fundamentals are very good with blockchain. So I truly believe in it since I'm so immersed in it.
Mhm.
That's why I think for me, a majority of my portfolio is in that space because I've basically immersed myself hours after hours watching the blockchain space. So my channel basically is, yeah, number one, like we talked about, the financial independence retire early community, which is hopefully one day I can retire and travel in my early 30s full time. And then also the way I'm doing that is via my investments into blockchain. Hopefully that pays off one day.
It's interesting how you mentioned like, you invested in 2017 and you rode the wave up as well as you rode the wave down, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're riding the wave up, you just don't really care about the fundamentals because you're just riding on this high. You're seeing your portfolio like double in matters of weeks, right?
Yeah. It's like, honestly, if I can describe it to you, it's returns that you would honestly never see from a blue chip stock,
Hmm.
you know, even that 20, I remember the beginning of this video, I don't think we have it recorded, but I mentioned that Amazon had a 28% year over year the last 15 years. That's a blue chip stock right there.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency returns like crush that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember I was watching like Bitcoin go up back in, was it 2017, 2018?
Yeah, 20 December 2017 was the peak, and then all the money went towards altcoins, is what we call it. So January 2018 was the altcoin peak, and then Bitcoin peak was 17.
Yeah, I was watching it. I actually got into Bitcoin just because of FOMO, which was probably the worst idea ever because I think I bought in around like 22,000. Yeah, but it was like
Wow.
such a small
Oh,
percentage of my portfolio, just in my overall investments. I was like, people were saying Bitcoin could go to 40K or 400K was like I think the magical number back then. So I was like, oh, why not? 22K, I could 20 times my money on this. If I throw a little bit at it, like, what's there to lose?
so in day trading, right? I used to day trade back in college. I
Yeah,
stopped it because it takes too much of your brain power to day trade. But
yeah,
in day trade, we had this thing called like a risk to reward ratio. So
yeah.
like, okay, risk $100, but the potential reward could be 400. So
Mm,
like as a day trader, as a swing trader, like that's an absolute perfect trade.
yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously, I don't do content on trading in my channel because now I'm
Mhm.
against trading. I'm more
Yeah.
of long-term investing, so you can pay long-term capital gains tax. But one thing I learned from trading is like these guys love the 4-to-1, 5-to-1 trades, right? So with Bitcoin, the trading potential is like unlimited if you want to compare it to that. So basically, you can get a 10x, which is what 1,000% return to losing 100% of your capital. To me, that's a no-brainer why you wouldn't put 1, 2, 3, 4%. Obviously, like the younger you are, like if you're in your 20s, why not put 5% of your portfolio allocation for a trade that's 1,000% to 100? That's a 10-to-1 trade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially if you're willing to wait like 40 years down the road. And
Exactly.
yeah, and we see a lot more companies like doing stuff with cryptocurrency, like Facebook and Square, Those two are pretty major companies in the States that have announced something to do with cryptocurrency on their platform.
Yeah, there's so many big names now. Like I don't know if you've seen like Paul Tudor Jones, like one of the leading hedge fund managers here in the U.S. He
Hmm.
put 2% of his funds in Bitcoin, his hedge fund into Bitcoin. So that's pretty cool. Like you have the CEO of Twitter. If you look at Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, he has Bitcoin on his description. That's it, just
Yeah.
hashtag Bitcoin. So like you have a lot of big names, at least here in the U.S. I know. I'm not sure about Canada, but a lot of big names in the US really support. I mean, a lot of people, also don't support it. They think Bitcoin's going to go to zero and it's rat poison. Warren
Yeah.
Buffett, Warren Buffett, I think is who said that. But yeah, there are a lot of non-believers here in the US, but there's also, a big chunk of believers as well. So that's
Hmm.
what's pretty cool. It's a pretty even playing field. So we don't really know what's going to happen unless you're willing to wait years down the road.
Like before starting the YouTube channel, I guess I would always be like micromanaging the portfolio, checking up on stocks all the time. I think that was just like, I needed an outlet to um,
Yeah.
talk about this content that I'm consuming because I would read articles, look at different YouTubers, and like I just be consumed with it. But now it's like on YouTube, it just gives me a way to explain all my knowledge and put it out there and see where the gaps are in my knowledge as well. Because when you start talking about something and you're like oh, I realized looking back at my earlier videos is like, oh, I didn't know as much as I did today. And I'm doing a lot more research into stocks and how to explain it to the average person. And I think the goal really is to educate other people about what I'm passionate about. Because I think,
Nice.
everyone, a lot of people spend a lot of money. They don't know how
Yeah.
to save. And I think that's like the biggest problem with society, or at least one of the biggest problems, that people retire with debt still. And that's a scary thing. And I knew that like from a young age, like at the age of 5 or something, I was like, I was very conscious about my savings and not spending too much. And I don't know, maybe I got that from my parents, just the way that they use their money. And I'm not saying like they're like Scrooges or anything, but they use it wisely and they don't like spend lavishly. Um, and maybe I've taken it to the extreme sometimes, but I think I'm just trying to like figure out how to balance that between saving and also spending what it is necessary. Things like relationships matter. Spending to save time can be is like beneficial, I think, in certain cases, and being smart with your money. It's about education on my channel to really teach people how to invest and how to save money. And I did start
Nice.
my channel back in March 2019. If you go back into the history of my channel, I had 3 videos, and I was actually in between jobs then. I got laid off from a company called North, and then about a month later, I started a new job at ClearPath Robotics, where I'm at right now. But in that month, I was like, I'm going to do YouTube and maybe make this into a side hustle. And I got
That's
3
awesome.
videos
And
in, and I was like,
yeah.
the engagement was fairly low. Video quality sucked. I was just using my smartphone. So I just lost all motivation and just like worked on my full-time job, as well as I was getting married that summer. So a lot of things were going on in life. But then fast forward to January, I was looking to do other side hustles, and then my wife was like, "You know what? You keep on jumping from like one side hustle to another, because like
Yeah.
I've done different things. I've done drop shipping. I've done like selling on Facebook Marketplace, which I still do today. And I've done YouTube, and I think I was trying to do something else, like build an Instagram page or something. So
Yeah.
she's like, just stick to one thing. I was like, okay, I started YouTube back in March last year. Let's just continue that. Also, the fact that she has a camera instead of like a smartphone. So I got a bit more motivated because I'm motivated by like the gear that I use. So I started doing YouTube and, pushing videos out maybe twice a week, once a week. But yeah, it was definitely slow. And I can resonate with you like on the fact that engagement was low, likes were low, things weren't really moving anywhere until somewhere in March. Like something just happened where the YouTube algorithm picked up my videos. And from then on, like honestly, I think my obsession with stocks has switched over to YouTube because the analytics is just like
Yeah.
it's kind
It's
of
fine.
addicting to look at, right?
Yeah.
When you see it, you're like, oh, my view count is up. Um,
Yeah. For me, it's all about the watch hours. That's
watch,
like what I'm focused on.
yeah,
Not really,
watch hours is the hardest thing to get.
because I know subscribers will come. Watch hours, if I can get watch hours up, subscribers will come.
Yeah, I think it's like it all is to do with the quality of your content. It's like there's so many different things to consider on YouTube that I found out, like the video quality, the audio quality, your lighting, your speech presentation, your editing. All these things sort of have to factor in and play well for your channel to grow. So it's been interesting to learn about YouTube as well as continuing my stock market investing and really refining the quality of what I put out. So trying to be more concise in videos and have like a main point. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a work in progress and it's super exciting.
So it's cool how you going back to earlier on what you said, how like growing up you had sort of that mindset of just saving money. Because I was actually like opposite. Like growing up, I was a big spender.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like as a kid, my mom would give me, I don't know, like a $20 allowance or something.
Oh,
I
so
would I
blessed.
would I would instantly just go out and buy whatever, go shopping. So I was like the opposite of being a minimalist and like living frugal back then. So
Mhm.
if I extrapolated that personality when I was a kid, I would not be financially independent in my 30s. Definitely not. So I think I kind of want to move on to fire now, because I know, obviously, like you're more in the stock space and more in the crypto,
Yeah.
but one thing that we have in similarity is that we're both really involved in fire, financial independence, retire early, because
Hmm.
we want to one day retire early, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's doing YouTube full time for you. For me, it's traveling full time and YouTube. I kind of want to get into what sort of how did you learn about fire, and what sort of inspired you? Like, what was your motivation to pursue it? Because like when I first heard about it, the first thing I saw was people were saving 80% of their incomes, 50% of their incomes, and that was like impossible for me.
Yeah.
Coming from a kid that spent all of his allowance,
Yeah.
it's like just switching my brain to saving 80% of my income. That seemed impossible. So, we can start with you, and then I'll tell my story later on of
Yeah.
like
Sure.
how you, because like for you, it seemed like you already grew up with fire. You just sort of you learned about fire to sort of just ingrain the fundamentals, but you already knew about the saving part growing up. So we can start
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like when you mentioned you got $20 allowance, for me, it was like I got $2 a week. And my dad would make me record it in a little booklet. So every week I put the date and $2 where I got that from. And
Really?
yeah. So I think like my dad taught me from a young age to manage my money well. And I definitely was influenced by him. But I think when I came across the concept of fire was really through my journey on YouTube as a viewer, just like watching different financial channels, and eventually you're bound to stumble across the concept of fire, because people who talk about money are likely the ones who want to retire early, or at least there's a
Yeah.
good portion of them that want to retire early, but maybe not necessarily actually retire in the sense of what you think about retirement today, but more so just do what they love. And that's kind of like the part that, so the first part of fire, like the financial independence, is really what I resonate with. um, and there's a few reasons why I think financial independence is important in my life. I've lost my job. I guess I've lost my job once, like got laid off. So that sort of made me think like, our jobs aren't as stable as we think,
Mm.
especially in this time of the pandemic right now, right? There's a lot of layoffs going on. Unemployment's, I think it spiked up to like 16% at one point, maybe even 19% in the States. And in Canada, it's roughly around 16 or so. So like realizing that our jobs aren't as stable as we think they are, if we actually achieved fire earlier, or had five, if we had five right now, right, we wouldn't really care if we got laid off from our jobs or not. We'd be doing things that we love to do. I think that's just like, that really resonates with me because I want to spend my time and energy on something that I enjoy doing. Not saying that I don't enjoy my job right now, but maybe 5 years down the road, I might not enjoy it as much as I did. And maybe I want to spend time at home parenting my kids, right? That might be, if I achieved FI, or at least a portion, or had a good amount of savings that would allow me to, you know, leave my job for the time being, then I can do what I really love to do, which is, parent kids or go on vacation, or, for you, it might be something different. But the concept of FI just allows you to do what you want to do. So I think really just being like not tied to your job is what inspires me to pursue FI.
Learning fire at the early age, if possible, is definitely very beneficial to your life. So for me, that's why I sort of got into fire, is because of that traumatizing experience. But then like sort of I learned the value of it is, so similar to you, the fee part is what I resonate with, the financial independence.
Hmm.
Because I don't really, some people do fire and just try to grow their nest egg as large as possible, so where they're making like six figures a year and then they'll retire. For me,
Hmm.
that's not really like what I'm trying to do. For me, I'm just trying to build enough of a nest egg to where I can travel the world full time. Because for me, I have the ambition to travel to 100 countries around the world. So I am doing fire so I can travel full time, and then maybe do YouTube on the side. My channel will probably evolve into more of a travel cost of living content after that. But for now, it's personal finance for now.
Yeah, I know a lot of YouTubers actually like have two different channels. Like some of them will have a vlog channel, and then maybe they'll have a finance channel as well. But yeah, it's interesting like what you can do on YouTube, and it definitely like helps as like a supplemental income if you're doing travel vlogging. Like if you're traveling all the time, you need to somehow pay for those expenses, and traveling isn't cheap. Like those airplane tickets, and who knows what's going to happen with like COVID.
Yeah.
Like flight prices are going up, right?
Yeah. I think with me though, it's more of like living in that country long term. So
Oh, true.
uh, luckily for me, like the US passport, I'm available to, I think, go to 160 something countries visa free for 3 months. Right now, my plan is to have a home base in Asia, and then on
Hmm.
the weekends, like I can do a 2 hour flight to Japan, 2 hour flight to Beijing. It's gonna be very close to where versus here in
Yeah.
the U.S. So I think if I did that where I stayed in a country long term, then it'll be cheaper for me, like with the flights, number one, and then number two, I can live like a local and avail of the long term rental rates instead of paying hotel costs and stuff like that.
So I guess your ambition really is to travel. Is it in the Asia region or?
Um, I'm gonna start Asia. So I have dual. I have two passports.
Yeah.
I have a Filipino passport and then I have a U.S. passport. So I think the more I think about it, I think my home base will be in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
To sort of maybe invest in a condo there or not really invest in because I'll probably live in that condo to be
Yeah.
honest. So I'll live in that condo and still pursue the personal finance channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the weekends, hopefully I can just take a 2 hour flight to Tokyo or something like that. Because it's very close. Philippines
Yeah.
to all these countries, it's like 3 hour flight away
Yeah, and that's definitely gonna be a lot cheaper too.
compared to the US flying
Yeah.
there. So
It's like at least $1,100 during the down season or something.
yeah, so that is my motivation for fire. And I'm not waiting for my portfolio to be like a 5 million, $10 million portfolio before I retire. Like for me, I'm just waiting for just the bare minimum, like the bare minimum amount. And like that is a portfolio that can achieve $1,000 a month of passive income,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So if I can achieve $1,000 a month of passive income, like I'm out. Like
Yeah.
corporate America, gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and I guess you've done the math for that too, right? Because you know
yeah,
that like
yeah.
off of $1,000, like these are your expenses. You probably budget at $1,000 roughly, um, and you know that like
for
a
for
good deal amount.
for for Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe, $1,000 a month is extremely doable, and you're not like living on ramen. Like you're living a pretty decent, comfortable life for
Yeah.
Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. Obviously, not in the UK,
Yeah.
not in maybe Spain, not in Australia, not in New Zealand. Basically, if you go to a non-Western first world country, then $1,000 a month is extremely doable, and you're living pretty decently comfortable.
Hmm. So I guess I have a question for you because you talk about you're mainly doing crypto stuff. So does crypto pay dividends? Because how do you get that passive income off of
Yes,
crypto?
yes. So crypto right now is evolving. Back in 2017, the space that evolved a lot were exchanges. So I don't know if you've heard of Coinbase, Binance. These are
Yeah.
exchanges. Now in the crypto world, what's evolving is the lending space. Right now, like if you had to borrow money, you would have to go through a bank or maybe a third party lender like Sophie or Prosper or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's very tough because like the interest rates there are very high. Because I remember I had to get a personal loan once in my life, and interest rates, I had decent credit, and the interest rates were like at 14, 15, 16%, like extremely high.
Like almost
Um,
credit card level.
yeah, even for a personal loan. So right now, what's being involved in this space is lending platforms like BlockFi
Hmm.
and Celsius Network. So what they do is, so for someone like me, I have Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And there's always interest for personal loans. Like people always need money for something, especially if they got laid off from their jobs, but
Yeah.
they want to be able to borrow money at the least amount of rate as possible.
Yep.
And some of these people might have collateral like Bitcoin or Ethereum. So what they would do is they would deposit their Bitcoin or Ethereum in this platform, and then they'll pay maybe a minimum fee of 5% APR, which is so much better than banks, like what banks give you, because
Yeah.
it's very hard to get a 6% APR from a bank.
Yeah.
So that's what they do. So they would pay maybe a 6%, 7% APR, And then for me as a depositor, so I would so for depositors, I actually deposit my some of my bitcoins into the platform,
Hmm.
and then I make 6% APR on that bitcoin.
So
You
that's
know,
basically how you can get your passive income, which
right?
is actually pretty good. Like typically in the stock market, we shoot for like a 4% dividend. Like you average about a 4% return on your assets every year if you're investing like in the overall market, or at least that's what we. Sorry, 4% of dividends is what we shoot for. Roughly returns on the stock market is like 7% a year. So with a 6% return, you're doing pretty well. So you need a lower amount to achieve that $1,000.
Yeah. I mean, I've sort of watched the community, and they don't believe that 6% is sustainable when we scale to mass adoption, because that's a pretty high rate. So
Mm,
I think we believe that the rates will go down, but it's sort of early adopter rate
I
that
see.
we're getting. So I think when we scale, that rate might go down to maybe 4% passively on Bitcoin. But for now, it's early adopter rate. It's sort of a
Yeah.
marketing technique to get people into the platform and entice them with higher rates.
Yeah. So I guess with, let's say like planning on the future, right? 4% is the rate that you can expect to receive. What's your ideal amount for achieving the five part of five?
So I think so. Since I'm so unsure on how rates will play out in the crypto space, I sort of think that I can achieve a 6% rate on interest. So as you know, like dividends, like you said, have 4% yield.
Yeah.
So right now in crypto, we have this thing called stable coins. So
Yep.
basically, it's essentially like the U.S. dollar or the Canadian dollar. And what these stable coins pay out is they pay out 8% interest for depositors. So it's
Mm,
kind of like a savings account, but a savings account pays you, I think, 0.25%.
something like that.
Yeah, but for a stable coin, they pay out 8% for deposits.
Mm,
So that's sort of my plan. I might have maybe not 100% of my portfolio, but like a good chunk into cash, which is a stable coin. And then hopefully I can maintain that 8% rate. But I think I'm kind of conservative, so I'm sort of thinking 6%. They might lower it. So I think with a lot of my stable coins, hopefully I can get 6% rate. And then because like the way they make money is they're gonna take your stable coins and then like lend it out to someone else at a
yeah.
much higher rate. So whatever that margin is, they keep. But it's a much tighter margin than a bank, because a bank, like like for a bank, they pay you 0.25% interest on your savings, but they'll take that money and lend it out via mortgage or personal loans or credit cards. So a bank's margin is extremely wide,
Yeah.
you know 0.25% for depositors, and then for lenders they charge 14, 15,
Yeah.
24%. So for these platforms, they're basically tidying it up, so definitely not keeping the profits for themselves and then giving out to people like me and you.
Hmm.
So that's sort of my plan, is just to I'm probably not going to be super allocated into crypto once the next bull market hits. I'll probably like deleverage my position into cryptocurrency and sort of see what's undervalued out there, like whether that be real estate or
Hmm.
stocks. So I'm definitely going to deleverage my allocation, because I won't have time to study the market, on an hourly basis now. So
Yeah.
I think like when I have less time, I have less comfort. So I gotta diversify my portfolio at that point, since I'm just traveling.
Yeah. That would totally make sense. Do you have like the ideal amount in like a dollar amount in US dollars?
So I think for me that's right over $200,000,
Okay.
because $200,000 would yield $12,000 per year at 6% APR.
Hmm.
Because that $12,000, I'm still going to be taxed here in the U.S., but for an income that low, taxes are only 10%. So,
Yeah.
um, a 10% tax on 12,000. Hopefully, I'll make the money somewhere else if I ever need that extra money. You know,
Hmm.
so 200,000 is my current mark. What about you? What's your like quit your job mark kind of nest egg?
Yeah, I think for me right now, like the magical number that I've been going on this whole time is like 2 million is what I need
2 million?
to like quit
Really? Okay.
everything, like absolutely just
Okay.
stop everything.
Okay.
not care. That's sort of the ideal amount because off of 4%, that's 80K a year, and that's more than enough. Like after tax, after taxes, it might be more like around 50 to 60. And I'd assume that like all mortgages are paid off. And like I guess for me, I'm not super into the fire mentality of saving like 90% of your income, because I think at the same time like you have to live a little bit. Right now we're still young, like in our 20s, and this is like when we're the most able. So like foregoing vacations or different adventures, I think would be a mistake to do, because when we're like 40 or 50 with kids, like we're not going to be able to do the same things that we can do right now. But I think like 50 to 40% of my income saved is very doable. And like when I travel, I try to do it as frugal as possible. But I think like to actually quit my job, I would need YouTube to sort of replace that income.
Mm.
Because I do have the aspiration to also like have a family, and needing to support kids, like they're expensive.
Yeah.
So YouTube would have to basically replace my current job's income
Okay.
in order for me to actually quit my job. And I think for me to quit everything, 2 mil is sort of the magical number. I think it's totally doable, maybe by the age of 35 to 40, if I invest well, on top of save my income and do YouTube on the side and run other businesses. Like right now, I'm actually running a Shopify store on top of all this too. I
Wow.
sold one of my products. Like I sold a product this morning to a guy who picked it up, and I think he wants to buy a second one. So
Nice.
yeah, basically just trying to like find multiple income streams and supplement my main job's income, and eventually maybe those multiple income streams will become my main job, and I can actually quit like the full-time job. Yeah, like my nest egg is like 10x yours. I think
Yeah.
it really comes down to like what our aspirations are in life. Like for you, I don't know if you plan to have a family, get married in the future, or if like traveling is sort of like the be all end all dream, and you could do that till you're like 60, 70 years old.
Yeah, I sort of have this thing to where I think I'll probably meet my partner as I'm traveling. I think like whether that be in the Philippines and Vietnam and Eastern Europe and then Latin America country. I don't know. For me, I love traveling so much to where, the perfect partner would have the same ambition. So
True.
I'm hoping that I meet that partner that loves to travel like me, so we can just
Yeah.
travel around the world, continue my journey. So I think that the fact that I don't have ambitions to live in my 30s in a first world country like the U.S.,
Hmm.
because $1,000 a month in the U.S. That's tough.
Yeah, it's not going to cut it.
That's tough. So, but $1,000 a month in Southeast Asia or in Ukraine, in Poland, extremely doable with a very comfortable lifestyle. And
Hmm.
honestly, like if you've ever been to Poland or Ukraine or Southeast Asia, like the food is amazing, and I can buy these amazing food for $2, $3, and even like a fancy dine-in, like 5 stars. Like I would pay $10 for like a three-course luxury meal, where in America that would cost 60, 80, $100. So basically 10x.
Yeah.
Like a luxury meal is basically 10x the price of what I would pay in Poland and Ukraine. So yeah, I think that $1,000 a month, I can still live a really comfortable life in a country not in the Western world.
Yeah. Do you see yourself like, in the future, if you achieve this goal of being like a travel vlogger for life, do you think you'll ever come back to America and like have to work a corporate job maybe in your 40s and 50s because you're done with that? Or yeah.
Once I quit my corporate job, I don't see myself coming back. So sort of the motivation for me is to hustle, because I know that, say I quit with a portfolio of $200,000, I'm
Yeah.
only making $1,000 a month, and I know that I can't cut it in the U.S. A lot of my family live in the U.S.
Yeah.
So for me, it's sort of there's this thing called burning the boats, right? What's his name? Magellan, I think. There's this guy that came from Europe all the way to the US, right?
Hmm.
And they basically went to not the US, but the Americas, from Canada all the way down to Mexico. And they went via ship all the way to the US. And basically, they did that so they can conquer the land. And back then, they had like Native Americans
Yeah.
back there. So they had to basically go through a war. And what the general did, I think his name was Magellan. I forgot his name, but the general told his crew to burn the boats, and then the crew was like, are you crazy? Like burn the boats? Like how do we get back to Europe? And he's like, that's the point. Like I want you guys to have the mentality to where like there's no looking back. Like once we burn the boats, we have to win this war.
Yeah.
You know, like we're gonna conquer this land, so there's no other option but to win.
Hmm.
So that's sort of my mentality is like once I quit my job with a $200,000 portfolio, it's like burning the boats. You know, I'm telling myself that I'm not gonna go back to corporate,
Yeah.
and I do want to go back to America. America is a beautiful country. It's amazing. I love living here. And with that mentality to where I can't afford to live in the US with $1,000 a month, that's gonna force me to hustle, like, you
Yeah.
know, upload videos every day, vlog every day, like whatever it takes to monetize and really achieve a livable income here in the US, it's gonna
Yeah.
force me to. So I'm sort of burning the boats. You know, once I quit my job, now it's like phase two of my life. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now it's like, okay, I did something crazy and I want to go back to the US so bad. So I got to scale YouTube now,
Yeah.
you know? So that's burning the boats is what I call that.
Yeah, that's a neat concept. Like I don't know, like I haven't heard that history story before, but it's like, yeah, once you quit that corporate job, because I think like we both dread the fact that we have to spend 8 hours in the office, right? It's like, why can't I just be paid for my efforts, not the time that I put in? And I think that's like the biggest thing with, like for me, for working in like a regular 9 to 5 job, it's like I wish I could scale my time so I could get more, I could bring more value, also earn more from it, and not have to spend that much time trying to like just dilly dallying in the office just to fulfill my hours or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's not fulfilling, you know. I think everyone has their own ambitions, but
Yeah.
it's hard to sort of go off on your own to be an entrepreneur because not everyone's built to be an entrepreneur. But one thing everyone can do is to, you know, live fire and just really save and invest. That's given.
Hmm.
Everyone can do that. Like you don't have to have an entrepreneur mindset to
Yeah.
put 40% of your disposable income into stocks, into crypto or whatever you want, you know.
Yeah.
Like everyone can do that. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to invest.
Yeah. It's like the low hanging fruit, basically.
Yeah.
Easiest way to do it.